Alright, good day everybody. Let's get on with this. Very unusual for me to do a live stream in the middle of the day star time, but yep, every now and then it happens. So let's see, we've got a 1466 come in. It's pretty new. I'm thinking this is one of the last manufactured ones, like 2017 or so. Yeah, certainly recently purchased, and it's a no power situation. So let's first see how true to form that no power is. We'll put in our chipmunk, let it do the chitter chattering. Let's get up, turn on the power supply. Let's see, here we go. Okay, we've got green light, so we've got some sort of semblance of life. Ah, that's sweet. I am perfect. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Okay, we've got loose hinge there, so we'll have to fix that up. We've got a slight indent there. A little bit of... Can't really see it. There's a little bit of liquid damage there. Powers up. Turns on. Alright. So much for that. 2.7's charging. Well, looks like that wasn't quite the thing. So we may have a corrosion fault in this case, where it doesn't power up, and let's see, okay, shut down, 10% battery, it doesn't power up, they send it in, and all of a sudden it powers up. So yeah, we're going to be on the lookout for corrosion. Hey Jim, on a bus for medical stuff, that's not a great way to be, but at least you're still here. Okay, let's get these screws out. Hey Jason, Greg, Stuart, a silver user from Canada. Don't recall seeing you here before. Welcome if you're new. Hopefully we won't run you off. Alexi. So it's been a busy morning, and yesterday was busy too, of course, with the solar. It's a nice, bright, sunny, shiny day, and we are not generating any power because the solar is not yet connected up. Pop. Okay. Yeah. This one definitely has been seeing an active life. Kind of looks a little familiar. So I think corrosion may well definitely be what we're looking for here. Let's get this battery disconnected. Try not inhale the random dust particles coming up. Long time watcher and time zones are not favourable. I do try to keep it a bit later, but I can imagine being in Canada it's probably pushing it a bit far most days. Do you have a single inverter or micro inverter? This is a I've got a dual string inverter system, so it's not a micro inverter as such, but I've got dual MPPT inverter system. Sort of a bit of a compromise. 1287. This is definitely going to have corrosion. So we have to wait for Ergon, which is the domestic, well, the local Queensland, North Queensland power line people. We have to wait for them to come and prepare everything. We also need to have our mains board completely replaced, as it's one of the more antiquated systems where it's sort of like a hodgepodge system, just a bit of plywood and various bits and pieces bolted onto the front. There's a fair bit of corrosion right there on that Wi-Fi controller. Wi-Fi module. A hectic. Queensland, well, our limit was 5 kilowatt hour back to the grid. but we're allowed to have 6.6 kilowatt hour, not kilowatt hour, sorry, 5 kilowatt to the grid, 6.6 generation on the roof. So yeah, I got 17 panels, 6.6 total. They're quantum Q cell 325, I think, or 375 watt panels. What's going on there? Oh, that's stuck down. That's scary. Oh yeah, there's liquid damage. There is liquid damage galore here. Okay, this is turning into not the best type of fault to have. Hopefully the keyboard is not too messed up. We will use all of this generated power in most cases, so far as I can tell. The one other big upside is that from a passive point of view, having the panels on the roof shades a small portion of the roof, so that kind of helps cut down on our need for air conditioning just that little bit more. Hey, Mark Guzman. Hey, John Finn. Alright. Yeah. Alright, this is probably going to be predominantly... What the hell is that? Rolling around. It's a little Furby. A dust Furby. Okay. I'll put that back down there. Put all this stuff down. Oh, need to take the shroud off. How much does the power company pay you for your power? Not too sure. I can't imagine it's going to be more than 1 or 2 cents a kilowatt hour. But like I said, it's not really... We're not buying it for the purpose of generating income from it. We're at least not excess income. For us, it's a case of getting a $1,600 a quarter bill down to something manageable like $500 or $600. Squeaky. Okay, is that? Yep, cameras come up. Hey Pedro, Mr. 2289, lucky bastard. It's a good thing you didn't send that to me. Okay, 1.88. Imagine if you'd sent that to me. Oh, sheesh. Okay, that's a bad start. Right on the CPU rails. Fortunately, it's just junk on the rail as opposed to on the regulator, so it's could be worse. That's a colossal cluster. Hey Dartom. Yeah, so that's our HS105. That's certainly a very common point of failure. This here is a... Don't know exactly what that resistor does, but it's not going to be doing it very reliably. Surprisingly, our all-sys power grid area is okay. Likewise, our clock and BIOS. SMC has got some muck. Unfortunately, maybe... Oh, I don't know. Please don't make... Oh, jeez. Pretty sure I can see the SMC's got corrosion around it. What a suckful way. Might be able to just wash it. Backlight might have been spared. Yeah, this is definitely a full-on janitorial job. Jason is, are they the ones with the onions on top or bottom? Still can't believe we had that fiasco. What on earth made that go blue? Don't know too many things that can make that go blue. That's sort of like a copper sulfate blue. Very interesting. Not copper sulfite, but copper sulfate. Copper sulfite, I think it's a bit of a greener colour. Sulfate is a very, yeah, it's a very pretty blue like that. I'm not going to lick it. It doesn't look like an ink pen. No, that's... The only thing is it's not... Well, I can't tell if it's crystallizing or not. Unless someone's been in here before and done a UV cure, but that doesn't seem right. Not off here. I don't actually want to start breaking that off because it may... Tiny particles of that can lift up and get inhaled. Have you ever referred complaining customers to your view of the video if you repair it on stream that I believe you fixed it properly? I have fortunately not had that issue. Thank goodness for that. Thankfully most people are content at simply having it fixed. Alright, well, top side seems okay. These particular boards, the 1.8 gigahertz, 8 gig RAM ones, they have the highest tendency of breaking the PCHs in my workshop. So let's hope we don't get any of that happening. Mr. Glasgow, welcome. So I'm just going to put the fan on. Just going to get rid of this stuff first. Just light, sort of scrape away. And then I'll wash it down some 80-20. To be fair, the ultrasonic tank probably would have taken care of it, but I want to get rid of it now. Hey, Noosa Cat. Ah, welcome back, Hector. The ultrasonic will take care of the rest of that. And I've got a very fresh tank of ultrasonic at the moment. Paul Gale, I wouldn't say I'm working harder than normal. I'm just letting people know about it more. Okay, fortunately that corrosion hadn't... Oh wait, no. Kind of worried it's gone through that trace. Yeah, it has. It probably hasn't broken the traces, but I'm going to scratch it back and then I can just recover it. But at least by scratching it back, and then if I put it through the ultrasonic, it will clear out any residual liquid of whatever form is causing this issue. Is this one a veer one? I think there's a veer on that. What the hell? Ah, Jason. Ah, more work for me. Wait, what am I complaining for? I should be happy. More work. Fantastic. I feel like Professor Farnsworth. Oh no, not Farnsworth. 80s guy. A delivery company. Fantastic. Package delivery, that's what he says. Package delivery. Yeah, Futurama people will know. The 80s guy episode was a very good episode. You can't get to him. Oh. Well, I'll do my very best and hopefully improve upon the utterly crap ratio of success I've been having with your jobs. Obviously I'm going to replace that, but I'm just sort of trying to see what the damage was to the nearby areas while I remembered it before I start getting into part replacements. Yeah, that's okay. That was just bright orange, but it wasn't actually a problem. Let's break out the hot air and start replacing stuff. You can actually see that cap has fractures in it, which is amazing that it did power on. Can you see those fractures in there? Basically what I'm guessing has happened here, the reason why it powered on, is because this probably has now disconnected from the board. It's probably corroded its way through, and so this cap may be shorted, but it's no longer part of the circuit, so it enables this to switch on. But of course it doesn't have appropriate decoupling anymore. Do not even touch them, so let's gamble that they may be so simple. Oh, let us hope. Let us hope that they're just simpleton jobs. And of course, as always, this is a fine example as to why you do not offer upfront discounts on what appears to be a simple job. You may offer a discount after you've done the job if it ends up being so simple that you're comfortable with the idea of, you know what, I'm gonna knock $100 off this job. But do not ever do it before you've done the job. If you do it before the job, then you're probably going to get punished by Murphy's Law. Okay, these two parts are actually particularly difficult to get off. There's a lot of heat sink in this area. So don't panic if your Quick 861 or your Atom machine struggle to get them off. Particularly that cap. You think, oh, it's a tiny little cap, it should be easy to get off, but nope, these are difficult. And it doesn't help that it's completely messed up there. Hey Q's, welcome. Oh, House of Moth's here. Hello House of Moth. What have you been up to lately? You seem to have been occupied. This is just some 80-20 alcohol water mix. Just helps me lift off any of the residual trash that might be there that's actually water soluble. And most of the stuff that afflicts these computers is water soluble. Hey Branches. Bit of oxidization going on there on that pad. Let's see if we can just break through it so that the solder can bite onto it, give us a decent connection. Been busy trying to fix those boards and live up to... It doesn't take much to live up to my level of professionalism. I mean, everybody gets to see the terror of the work that I do here. It's certainly not what most companies would try and portray as their image. The PR and the advertising department would shut me down pretty quick. They'd be like, you can't go out there showing how it really is. You're destroying the illusion. If our PM did an alcohol mix, it would be 80, 30, 70. Oh, shame. Yeah, the scary thing is I'm pretty sure... I really don't know if Scott Morrison's going to be removed from his position currently. I think Anthony Albanese... I don't know, something needs to come along and get people excited about Anthony. I mean, I would be happier to have the change, especially after 3 terms already. But I'm kind of worried that people just are going to go, yeah, we're going to carry on as we are. I find after 3 terms, governments tend to start getting particularly slack. Yeah, they just don't quite put the effort in anymore. Hey, Full Wave. Outsource PR to Lewis. Oh, that was a nightmare. Should never do that. Yeah, it pretty much doesn't matter what party is in government. By the time they've been around for a decade, it's kind of like underwear. Sometimes you really need to change it. Unless they're doing a particularly stellar job. Oh man, that one's actually not too bad. It should be that sort of slogan. Governments are like underwear. They need regular changing. Hey, computer beater. Hey, Christian. How's it going? Robert Schumacher. What sort of honesty are you talking about there? Unfortunately, with the way the whole political scene is, it's almost impossible to get a good person to the top. Almost impossible. Very infrequently does such a person come along. Yeah, definitely the political scene does not reward honesty or transparency or anything like that. I just need to get a cap. That board didn't have a good cap on it. Cap's tolerable. It's not the greatest, but it's tolerable. So it is very hard to get excited about political parties, particularly major political parties. I've chopped and changed quite a few times over the decades. See, the police department bought Boston Dynamics robot. Cool. What are they actually going to use it for? Or is it just sort of a really cool thing to have? Oh, Robert, well, thank you for that. I do try hard, but, you know, yeah, try hard. Try very hard. Don't always get it right, but I do try. Honestly, this thing looks like a old moss-covered car wreck or something. If you're cruising along on a drone, looking down on a forest, and you spot an old car wreck covered in moss. And it's been particularly difficult to get off. Okay, for building entries, check of suspects. Drones are starting to become the thing now. So don't bother with humans anymore, let's just make a lot more drones. And then have the humans controlling the drones. I do wish you had the ability to, instead of voting for parties, if you could vote for policies, which I know you sort of indirectly do via the party. And I know that the trouble is one policy may depend on another policy in order to be viable. It should be kind of like, well, like in 7 Days to Die or any of those other games, where in order to make a particular substance you need to have all these other prerequisites. So I kind of wonder whether instead of voting for parties and stuff, we should just simply have, well, these are the policies available, the outcomes, these are the prerequisites, which way do you vote on that, what would you rather see, and just leave the whole party system, just depart from it. Yeah, this is a real mess, and it's probably something important. Just trying to get a clearer view, so I'll do my very rare instance of actually using wick on a board with a soldering iron. Very rare for me to do that. Well, Jason, that's quite true, yes. I don't know if there is any real solution to it, short of something like the French Revolution, but then you still end up the same thing very quickly thereafter. I'm not meaning in terms of actual beheadings or anything like that, I just mean in terms of washing it out, starting anew. Hey, Gene G Sippin. Alright, now I've got to find out what that particular pad and such does, so we're going to have to load up the board view software. We've got the 165. schematics. Oof, that's terrible. Yeah, it's not much better either. What am I looking for? Just down from the HS105 switch, in line for the cap. So it looks like this one here. EDP panel power. Alright, that is important. Thank you, Greg. I mean, I personally don't have a problem paying tax assuming it's appropriately utilized, but that's the crux of it, is what is appropriately utilized, and there's very little oversight on it all. I mean, I know there's going to be a degree of slush involved and, you know, slop, but it really does seem excessive. Let's see. Okay, so this here, that thing there, that big blue circle, is actually the ball on the CPU. So if I flip the board at this point, you see that's the CPU ball. Now, I don't know, I think the trace would be... Yeah, I actually don't know if there's a veer here or a veer under here. I suspect the veer is here, and then there's a faint, you know, a short trace to the ball. But either way, if this gets botched up, we're not going to get a display. Oh, what's my, let's see, 0.610 is what we're after. Okay. Or at least something close to 0.610, so anything between 0.55 and 0.65 is probably going to be fine. You're welcome, Jim. Okay, 0.6 and open. Okay, so yeah, we've got a problem there. So that's disconnected. It does make me wonder whether it's open because it doesn't actually have anything to do, as in it's just a test point with no veer, or if it's open because the gate to the CPU pin there is just, yeah, it's just a high impedance. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to, so what have we got? I've got a 3437. Let me get a 165 board. No, 3437. Just going to get a 165 board, and then we're going to carve into the board and find out what it actually is. Lo and behold, 3437. You never find the right board that you want at the time that you want it. It's getting to the point where I need to actually split my stash into... Good God, man. Okay, here we go. And it looks like we're lucky. That looks like it could be a veer point there. Clearly I've been digging under here before, but I'm going to slice this away and see where that veer stalk is. It's a great way to ruin the knife, but you got to do it. Okay, no stalk. No stalk. What? Oh, right, yeah. Alright, so we can see that the stalk is actually directly under the pad. In which case, that's no problem that we've lost that, because that goes straight down to the ball on the CPU. So that's a relief, which means I don't have to bother reconnecting it or anything like that. I can just put some solder onto those resistor pads and put a new resistor on top. what is that? It's 100k. Which way you go? It's a 100k pull down. Alright. It's a 201 resistor. We'll just get one of those fresh out of the packet. It could actually probably be anything from a 1k to a 1 meg resistor. It's not too critical in these sort of scenarios. Because with the pull downs, you're not drawing any power through the resistor as such. Yeah, we're talking microamps, picoamps even. It's just simply there to give it a connection to the ground. And the 100k is a way of making it so that it's strong enough that should any sort of noise appear on the capacitive gate, it will be drawn away to stop the gate being triggered. But it's also high enough that it doesn't cause any potential issues of like excessive drain. Okay. But like I said, anything usually between 1k and 1 meg would work if you're in a tight spot for this particular situation. Alright, that's looking good. So that's one section we've dealt with. Now we've got to move on to the rest. I might just brush this board off a bit. That looks a little bit better. All that sort of little crusty stuff that I'm just knocking off there, that's what you really rely on the ultrasonic cleaner to fix up for you. Now I need to look at the edge of these SMC pads. Yeah, that is sadly indeed an SMC replacement coming up there. Yeah, the bond wire, well not the bond wires, but the grid wires are messed up. And that just suckety sucks. Very annoying. So yeah, this has gone from what I was hoping might have been something like a blown cap on PP bus into a full-blown pain in the backside job. Okay, some more 80/20. I like to get, once I've sort of located the area where there's issues and I'm happy with what I've seen, I like to use 80/20 to clear away remaining junk so that when I start putting flux and solder down, you don't get too much dross forming from the contaminants on the board. Okay, so that resistor, those two, that trace there is going to have to be explored, and of course the SMC. Hey David Starbuck. So just going to take all three off now. You'd hardly tell that there's meant to be a resistor set of pads there. Okay, try to cut back on that corrosion. See if I can revive those two pads just using solder and flux. May or may not come up. If it doesn't, then we'll just have to scratch back a bit more, get through that lead oxide layer. I've already been going 3/4 of an hour. Very easy for jobs like this to turn into money waste. Well, not money waste, but time suckers. Like, you may think, okay, it's only 3/4 of an hour, but there's always at least 3/4 of an hour outside of the repair itself for washing, testing, packing, all that sort of stuff. So effectively the job's now up to an hour and a half, and we still don't know what else we're dealing with. And it doesn't matter whether it's myself doing the other work or whether it's someone else. There's still a wage to be paid. Hey Copaz, how's it going? Yeah, I should have known when I put that title up, I was inviting trouble, like yourself. But it's a good example of you should never be too presumptuous about what you're about to face. What's this Q's tech pretty awesome at Macbook motherboard repair number 1, because you take your time. Oh, you call it, what? You call it me number 1. I'm more, not quite that number. Alright, let's see what else. We'll come back to the SMC in a bit. We need to clear up other things before we dive into that joyous task of SMC replacement. Okay, so we do have a bit of corrosion there. I will replace that cap before it becomes a problem. Oh, I'm delicate with the repair. I generally live by a very paranoid motto when it comes to repairs of anything. As disgusting as that area looks, the cap is actually good. It's like with data recoveries, or even just simply backups or transfers between hard drives, like you custom upgrading their computer. You know, I use DD Rescue a lot, but with DD Rescue it's entirely easy enough to migrate directly from one drive to the other. That is, if you have both drives on the system, you can just simply DD Rescue from A to B. But I refuse to do that because it only takes that one time where you mix up your drives, you accidentally put A and B and B and A and stuff like that, and instead of cloning your customer's drive to the new one, you clone an empty drive to your customer, and that is a very bad thing to do, particularly because when you do that kind of clone, you legitimately erase the data. There is no recovery option. No matter what CSI tells you, there is no recovery option on that. So instead what I do is I always put in the customer drive, I then back it up as a on-disk image on my archive. You then mount the image, check that all the data's there as expected. You then take that out, put the customer drive somewhere safe, you put in the blank drive, transfer the image to the blank drive, and checking everything again. So it adds easily, or it depends on the drive size, but it can add easily a couple of hours to the turnaround time. And collectively over the number of jobs you do, that is a rather large amount of time. Fortunately, you know, it is mostly a non-interactive process, so you can always interleave it with other jobs. But if you get it wrong by doing the disk-to-disk copy, then yeah, it's you all of a sudden see the value in doing it the slow way. Hey Steve K, 3 o'clock actually. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A bit later than I had planned, but this job came in. Someone actually took the initiative and drove all the way from Townsville to drop this off to me. So it was very nice of him. And they were good. They just dropped it off, said hello as in hi, this is the machine, these are the problems with it, here's the accessories, and that was it. They headed off back to Townsville or whatever else they're going to do and let me get straight on with the job, which, believe me, is very nice. Oh man, that's a spider exoskeleton there, and that's a roach leg. Bloody hell. Trapped in the amber of flux. did a repair on a 1708. Wait. 1708 Pro 15. The 1708's 13 inch. So was it a 1708 13 or was it something else that was a 15? Needless to say, cracked in half cap. That's nice. Nice when you get one like that, as long as it hasn't done secondary damage. 1707, right, that makes sense. I was going to say, you had me confused there. I wasn't sure which world I was going to be in for a bit. This is a very dark amber flux, whatever this was. Very reluctant to come off too. You know what? I don't like that one. Sure you did, Kerpers. You needed to see that cockroach leg. It's all protected by the amber. And in another 100 million years, the aliens will dig it up and go, oh, look. The cockroaches were trying to take over the world. They were integrating with electronics. I don't know what kind of flux it was, but it was gnarly. Got some bleeding going on over here. And look at that bleeding just happening. This is a donor board, by the way, like legitimate AliExpress type donor board, as opposed to a customers given up, let you keep the machine type donor board. Just going to do some manual retouching on the front legs there. There is enough solder, but I kind of want to fillet it a little nicer. Put some bridging there. The problem is that center pin is probably a ground. That's much nicer. There we go. Feel happier about that now. Hey, Gavin Brown. Alright, so that's backlight done. SMC accessories done. We still need to do the SMC. The SMC actually might be okay. It just needs to be reballed. There's a little bit of corrosion there, but that's in the realm of ultrasonic clean fix. So we're not going to displace that one. Yeah, see, just a toothbrush with 80/20 cleans that up. Mind you, there is damage. See, the problem is I've got to. Oh wow, I didn't see that. Backtrack. I don't know why the designers put test pads right through the middle of the trace. The proper way to do test pads, if you want to avoid this sort of failure, is you put them off to the side. Geez, now I've got to find an example of off to the side. Kind of like this. See where that's the actual data line or whatever, and then you just put it off to the side there, or like these two. There'll be veers down under there, but then actually no. Come to think of it, those ones have got veers under them. Yeah. Needs to say, a test pad, because it's an exposed area, really should be just off on its own little trace with no vital, nothing vital going through it or dependent on it, because otherwise you end up in this situation. Now that is actually just barely still connected. But not by much. It's just like a wee little... Yeah, I could sneeze and that would probably knock that off. And it's... Let's see, what is this? It goes down to this resistor by the SOT23. So is that charger S-gate divider? It's got a pretty hefty trace on it. So it's part of our reverse gate. Basically, it stops the gate from floating by the looks of it. And it's part of the divider for the sense of the voltage. Yeah. So I'm going to say that's S-gate and that's A-gate, is it? Where's A-gate other than on a tree? Oh yeah, that's A-gate, right. So anyway, it's important. No. I like test pads. I like having test pads a lot more than yeah. Test pads are great because it's easy to put your multimeter probe on it. And yeah, they've got the gold contact surface, so usually they're not too corroded. Usually, under normal circumstances. And they don't tend to slip. And they're very visually obvious. So, you know, they're fantastic for a great many reasons. But they do need to place them a little less stupidly. I shouldn't say stupid, really, because maybe they have their reasons, but it would be preferable to have, like this test pad here, could easily have been here, and just like a little trace off there. So I don't get it. We are going to have to actually add a reinforcement on that. Costas. Sorry, Costas. Apologies, Costas. Just going to get my reinforcement wire. Now some people would say, why don't you just solder board over that? And it's like, yeah, I could. I really actually genuinely could. But a wire does give that little bit extra security against future movements and things like that. Well, to be honest, that's a pretty damn ugly looking wire. It is technically correct. Aesthetically not. and I'm messing with it, and I'm just going to make it worse. But it narcs me quite a lot when aesthetically it's not so crash hot. But I'm trying hard to leave that behind. Hey Ray, 314, Ray 314, is that like Ray Pie? Simple Pie? At least you're not Ray 22/7. I might replace this resistor. This is part of the current sense network. So that is an important resistor, and it's not really taking solder how I want, so I'm going to replace that. Hey Rob Brown. By the way, this is the nice smelling Amtech Flux. I should point out, it is nice smelling, but if you take it beyond its threshold or beyond what it's designed for, that nice smell becomes absolutely toxic. So keep it under temperature and you'll be okay. Take it over temperature and it's nasty. So where are we at now? 1 hour mark. Yeah. If I don't get this finished up in the next half hour, I'm pretty much... yeah. The only trouble is, I don't have any spares of this particular board. I do have a couple of 1.6 8 gig RAM ones, but I don't have the 1.8 8 gig RAM ones. Rob, I've got 3 of those. Actually, no, I've got 5 of those as well. But I was lucky. I said to Amtech, I said I was anticipating that these ones would be the nice smell ones. And I said, this one smells more like some sort of burning dishwashing liquid, lemon dishwashing liquid. And they were kind enough to actually, after a while, send me a replacement batch that did smell nice. Is that a roach leg hanging out in there? Oh no, it's something else. Oh, it's a hair. A hair that got cremated. Okay, that will be ultrasonicked out, so that's okay. Well, I think it's time to tackle the SMC. Damn. Well, here we go. There's my Grim Reaper. Hey, sweetie. What sort of what? Hot cereal. Yeah, sure, bring it in. Looks like I'm going to get some hot cereal before I start with this one. that wayward solder bore, that's a 0.35 millimeter. That would have come off that blade from previous work. The hot air temperature here is just 250. And we're lucky, this is actually going surprisingly well for the removal of the edge bonding. I'm just not sure. I mean, the machine booted. I need to keep reminding myself there's corrosion on the edges. Okay, there we go, 470. I'm just going to crank the extractor up. I'll be there in 2 seconds. So you can see where the corrosion came in over here. Alright. I'm just going to go get my breakfast cereal and be right back. Thanks for that.
It's okay.
If you're wondering what this is basically baby rice cereal, and that's raw sugar on the top. The stuff, not the granular type stuff, or it's basically like a unrefined sugar, and it's really good in this stuff. Let's see, I wouldn't respond to your email. Well, I asked if I could order, can I get the old school pine sandwich? Oh, that's unusual, Rob. So it's kind of like a cross between sugar and golden syrup. Not bad for 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, crikey. Good afternoon, Ella. Now the problem I've got here is I'm not sure if I even have any working 165 SMC donors, so I may have to put a 3437 on there and reflash it. I don't care if this is baby food, I love it. It's nice having the contrast between the bland rice and then you get the sugar hit. It's like, oh yeah. Yeah, Greg, I don't know what they were doing at Amtech, but they did make a bit of a mess of it. Gotta get that sugar, man. Gotta get sugar. Oh yeah. That gives me the instantaneous energy I need to get around to eating dinner. Okay, I'm just going to go through my stack of boards and see if I can find a 165 that has has an SMC. So hey, Death Bomb. No, 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 no. Yep, we're going to be singing no for a lot here. No. Ooh, SMC. 3437, damn it. Typical. As I'm saying, it's like, 3437 SMC is sure thing, I've got them. So if push come to shove, I can put a 3437 on there and reflash it. Nothing like such a forcible situation to force me to have to work out how to do that flashing process properly. The main thing that happens is when you if you put a 3437 on there, at least thus far with what I have tested, you do not get audio. Please be a 165. Oh, you're 3437. What a load of... Yeah. The camera chip tricks me. It's like, hey, oh wait, what are you? Damn it, 3437. Spider. Yeah, it's a lot of donor boards, but I suppose when you think about how long I've been doing this... Okay, so... It's a fake boot of this one. Which means it may be an SMC issue. We'll put that aside. Okay, another 3437. Fake booting on the 165 half the time can be an SMC issue. Yeah. Maybe if I've got a lowly 165 somewhere I can steal its SMC. So 3437, SMC, 3437. Yep. Alright, so they're the non-SMC ones. This is a potential. I should really put the ones with SMCs into a different container so it's easy for me to find them. I'm just going to have a look at another stack I've got here. Like I said, some of these are functional. Defcom, yeah, the 1278s I purged out most of them a long time ago. Right, that's actually a functional board. Functional board. Functional, and it's 3437 anyway. Functional. Functional. Okay, it looks like I picked up a stack of functionals here. Functional. Yeah. Okay, they're workers working. 34, 30, 34, 33. Ooh, what's this? It's a 1.34. So we could potentially sacrifice this one here, given that it's a 1.34. 34, 37. Fix needs testing. Update. Okay, so it's working. No SMC anyway. What are you going to be? No, 34, 37. 34. Okay, these two look like could just use them as donors. That's just a standard donor. Okay, put these functional boards somewhere so I can just package them up and have them ready for whenever things happen. Let's see, I've got one other supply option. I've got a container full of old pulled parts. And there may be something in here we can use. New SMCs if you need some, plenty of boards. If you have any fails there, go to town on them. Yeah, that's the problem, dev problem, is like you build up the archive of boards and chassis and the weeks and months just slip past. 1502 165. Possible bad battery section. Fake C3215s. Hey Thomas, see, you've had yours sitting there for 2 years. Yeah, that's probably about right. And then before you know it, when you check again, it'll be 6 years. Hey, that's an iPhone baseband. Oh. 3330. Okay, we've got 2 SMCs in here. There's a chance. I'm willing to take the chance of reballing it, finding out, okay, it doesn't work. See, what happens here is when you're repairing the boards, every now and then you will you'll repair a board that, why does that say, oh, it's okay, fake Buddha, that's right. You'll do something like, okay, I'm going to try to change the SMC. So you change the SMC and you find that it didn't fix it. So you go, okay, it wasn't that actually at fault. Okay, so this is probably a working board. You might get to live another day, sir. I'll put that in a random location where I'll come back to it later and go, why is this here? See ya, Q's. Okay. That one there, it actually still does work, but the reason why we're not using it is because we've had corrosion pop up on the edges. It's a little hard to get that hair out of the way. It might be a little easier. Yeah, you can see the corrosion has started to just sort of... oh great, more hair. These fine end wires, it sort of started to touch around on them, like up here. And it may not be a big problem, but I do worry that, yeah, we have had a couple of jobs in the past where just one of those wires has had corrosion on it and it's killed the SMC. So it's not really something I want to leave on a board like this. So Hiroko is picking up an A1992, A1707s, one A1706, 1932 to... oh, that's going to be like a... I'm going to have a full day at least of repairs to cover that. Okay, the other thing you got to watch on the SMCs is that you do not have delamination going on, and it looks like I've done myself a favor. Thank you very much, past self. And I've actually reballed this one, and I've even written 165 on it. My God, I love myself so much. Thank you, me. And it looks like this one here needs to be done as well. So if we can get that board working so that you all don't feel like you're robbed, I will reball that other SMC so that I can love myself in the future again. First a bit of clean up that area. Defcom, I thought you were more working on test equipment and stuff now. Just going to throw that SMC that we took off the board into the bin. It's too easy to accidentally reuse something that you really should have thrown in the bin. See ya, Q's. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go around initially, wipe up all of that lead-free solder, cover the pads in some lead-free, and that will then make it easy for me to do the next step, which is to... and we've got to... whoa, what happened to that pad? So we may have some advanced work ahead of us. Oh no, from a distance it looked like that was a pad that the actual pad had gone and a veer was all that was left, but it just was coincidence that was just a bit of flux that made it look that way. It was momentarily scary for me then. Although it would have been an interesting challenge. Hey Miles, yes, you're dreaming. Go back to sleep. It's looking good. Hey Shadow Frost. Alright, now even though we just went over with the wick and everything like that, there is still going to be the liquid corrosion junk down there, so we've got to use some more 80/20 and get that off the board. And you can see that the corrosion has actually affected the traces, so that's not a good thing. Yeah, we've got the junk off, but now we really do need to worry about those traces, because they look messed up to me. So maybe I have a challenge after all. Now I could just leave these, but you know, in a week or two they're going to fail. Now look at you can see that bright orange oxide coming off. You got to take it down till you get the normal copper. Even if you don't want to, you still got to. Now, they're probably going to go down to the board. I'm going to have to run wires under the SMC. It's trying to be very delicate. We're hunting copper. Okay, it looks like that actually is still intact. Miraculously. It will need to, I will need to tin it and then cover it with UV cure. That one's okay too. There's a couple of deeper pits in that. Oops, sorry about that. There's a couple of deeper pits in there, but they're not too much of a problem. Unlike when you get a tap that won't stop leaking, and you find that you got tiny grooves being etched out of the seat of the tap, thanks to the water pressure just cutting its way through past the washer. That's some fun stuff to fix up. Fortunately, the local hardware store steered me well, gave me the right tool for the job, and was able to fix them up quite well. There weren't any crazy replacement seat installations or anything like that. It was just a proper tool to do the job right, as opposed to the serrated, swivelly thing, which it seems to just spend more time chewing your seat in a, it doesn't do a very good job at keeping it flat. But the tool they gave me does a very good job of keeping it flat. And what do you know, when I put everything back in new, straight away it sealed up perfect, no drips. If I was a risk taker, I could actually probably put the SMC back on that, and there wouldn't really be any, crossing over of the electron streams or anything like that, but I'm not. So we're going to cover that up. And first I'm going to re-tin those exposed copper. Yeah, Miles, it's the one upside of around here is that, yeah, the locals, they're pretty good with their knowledge for that sort of thing. Alright, so we've done that bit. Whoops, slip. And now we're going to wick it again. Even though we're going to wick it again, it's not going to take that solder off those traces. So we're going to end up with a very nice thin tinning of the traces. Which is exactly what we want. There we go. Nicely tinned. No exposed copper. And no excessive protrusion above the plane. So that when we put our UV down, it'll be okay. I could have just gone UV only. Hey Rilla, good to see you. Okay, we need to get more flux off there. The UV cure does not, the UV glue does whatever coat does not really like sitting on top of flux. Okay. Aren't you going to tin that small... You know, I was wondering if someone mentioned that, but no, I'm not. That's sufficiently far away. That one's okay. But the other ones... Yeah, I was waiting for someone to mention that. I saw it and I was like, someone's going to speak up about that. I intentionally do these things to drive all the OCDers insane. That's my goal in life. Moving to the country miles, it's not too bad. There's certainly a lot of things you miss. Couriers will drive you mad more than ever. I could just paint over this and scratch back, but I'm going to try and not have to resort to that. I'm pretty happy with that. Yep. Let's go and expose that to wholesome North Queensland sunshine and it'll be ready to go before I get even outside. But no, I'm not actually going to do that. I've got a little DB Dacker on the side here that I can't show you because it's out of range. Yeah, it shouldn't take more than 20 or 30 seconds for the layers that are that thin on this. I'm really hoping that SMC is good. Almost done. That should do it. Yeah, yeah, that is the nice thing when you can make an extremely thin layer of that UV conformal coat, then it doesn't take very long at all for it to cure. Now I am just going to scratch that back itty bitty slightly. There we go. It's certainly worth having a look at if you can, Miles. Like I said, it is a bit of a change of pace, but for some people that's exactly what they need. It's going to preheat the board a bit. Mostly so that when I hit it with the flux layer is kept fairly low. Even that I'd consider perhaps to be a little excessive. Yeah, I've been using the blue for quite some time now. Because I know green's the standard, and I just thought, yeah, maybe I'll just do something a little not quite so standard. Sometimes I get a little bit paranoid about the sitting. It should ideally rotate down this direction, like counterclockwise and down slightly, I think. Just keeping the nozzle a fair way from the board, giving the board a chance to suck up some heat. Just waiting for the flux to start forming a bead around it. There may not be enough for the bead, but I'm pretty sure there should be. So normally when I do this reballing process, there's flux on the chip, which we're a little off there. Okay, there we go. So it did do the... There we go. There's that bead I was talking about. Hey, Jim Allen. See, you missed the other one and you just made it to this one as it's getting to the end. I hope. Yeah, Duffom, actually that is another way you go for the yellow. I suppose in your industry with the instrument repair and things like that, that's more tolerable or more accepted, as opposed to the consumer industry where people go, why is this big fat yellow thing here on my board? How dare you make my board have yellow on it? Yeah, there's a bit of tarnish on that one back there, but I think it's just a bubble of flux. That should be okay. Okay, that's sat down perfectly nice. The blue is only really visible when it's on the silver background sort of thing. From just when you're looking over the board like this, you can't really see it at all. It was only because it was on up close and on that silver. I would say though that the blue is less obvious than the green in many ways. So pick up the excess flux. You know, I'm not a fan of too much flux on these boards when I'm putting them back into the customer's machine for testing. I agree, Dopom. Yeah, I do agree with you. It does help with future testing, future inspection rather. Now it's around about this time we're going to find out that this in fact has a bad keyboard, especially with that sort of liquid damage there. We'll see how we go. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm going to take that Wi-Fi off. I'll clean it up, throw it in the ultrasonic, but I've got a sufficient number of these Wi-Fi units that it's probably going to be better for me to just throw that in the trash or something. I don't think I could use red and I'm not partial to black either. So red and black are out. Yellow was a bit too much for me, personally. I do agree with the DEFCON's reasoning for yellow though. White, yeah. Green was like, well, everybody using green. Black, I think, is almost dishonest. I know it sounds weird for me to say that. I mean, sometimes I feel like people use black on boards to then try and flog off the board as if it's untouched. I'm not saying these reasons are legit. I'm just saying in my mind what I was going through. Well, let's just see if it even remotely starts up at all. Let's get our tester stick. I wouldn't be surprised if there's issues on that DC inboard either. We get green light, orange light. Current looks about right. We've got a bong. Yeah, it's looking good. Well, getting the bong means that we definitely got the SMC okay. It's not a 3437 that I mislabeled. So yeah, fixed a skateboard controller today. Worst solder ever. Oh yeah, I can imagine those things. It's the most terrifying electronics I have fixed are J-Car used to sell a combination soldering iron and hot air station in a beige brick. They may still sell it, I'm not sure. Duratec or something, I can't remember the brand of it. But when I opened that thing up to just have a look inside, I was terrified. It was like a repurposed board for some other job. There were all sorts of terrible bodges in it. Dangerous too, in fact. What do you think of Apple's new iPhone colours? I don't know if they're going to end up lasting with that. The last time they tried the whole colour experiment, of course, was the iPhone 5C. And of course, prior to that, you know, the pre-2000 Macs. I don't know why Apple did that. I don't really see it as being something they needed to do. Like, same with their new computers. I don't know what kind of marketing fad they're trying to chase. Okay, so we do have a bit of a slowdown. This could be because it doesn't have a battery, or it could be some other issue. Okay, there it goes. I'm gonna have to fix those hinges up too. That's ticking me off. Okay, keyboard. I know that was just slow. Let's see what the sensors come up with. Honestly, I feel like, for the most part, the 2013 to 2015, 16, yeah, the whole 1466, 1502, 1398, iMac, 2012 to whatever was recent before they changed. That kind of design era, I feel like, was their best. and I think they're kind of wondering what to do with themselves now. Oh, the cheese grater was hell in my opinion. I don't know what they were thinking when they did the cheese grater version of the Mac. Okay, so, well, we don't have any sensor issues there, so I'm just going to plug the battery in and see if that helps. Crocodile, maybe they're doing that to try and stop the addictions. That's a bit late for me. I've got an iPhone, iMac, iPad, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we've got battery. Yeah, it's annoying when the hinges won't hold the screen up. Interesting. Okay, this is weird. My PCI SA was dropping back to 0 for some reason. I'm not sure why. Yeah, there it goes again. Back to 0. That doesn't seem right. And I don't know what PCI SA is. CPU I get, GPU I get, SA, what is SA? If it was SB, I'd say Southbridge, but it's not. So that shouldn't be reading 0. It sort of keeps jumping up between 0 and 50. So I feel like we've got more issues here. Trash can, okay, yeah, alright, you win on that. Trash can was truly the worst, yes. It is a problem when you reach that sort of pinnacle of design, or local pinnacle maybe, and then you really can only go, you can either stay there with it, or you can crash and burn, and it looks like Apple decided to crash and burn quite a bit. The keyboard, surprisingly, is actually okay. Slot adapter? I'll have to find out. It is charging the battery too, so they've been miraculously lucky here that the liquid damage did not take out their keyboard. Valley is running perfectly fine. Considering this thing has no fan, it is running very well. We'll just turn that off before we overdo it. It's for the SATA drive temp. But there's no SATA drive on these. And the trouble here is that it pops up and then goes away. It pops up and goes away. So I'm thinking that there is a sensor that, yeah. Something's got one leg not quite right. Oh well. Okay, well look, I am going to finish up now. We've done the bulk of it. I'll have to find out what that SA is referring to, and then I'll fix that up. But I think we've done the board for the most part. There's obviously just one little piece there that's got a leg that's not quite working right. And I'll end up the stream because it is 4:30 and I need to go get another coffee. SSD SATA is the same as I use. NVMe is the Samsung. It is a Samsung unit, that's the trouble. I'll try that, Jason. I'm also going to go check the schematic and have a look. So I'm out of here for the moment, but appreciate you all being here as always. It's good to have people to bounce things back and forth on, and I'll probably see you next time I'm streaming, whenever that may be. In the meantime, you'll take care. You have a good one. Catch you later.